Talk about yourself, man. I mean, it's a young kid. Let's take it from the top, bud. Like,
Thank you.
How long have you been playing guitar?
Well, I started playing guitar when I was about 3 years old, and my parents had so much music in the house at a very young age, and I just always loved playing the guitar. I started taking lessons when I was like 5 years old, and I just always loved it, really.
What was the first song that you remember getting down pat?
Blackbird by the Beatles.
There you go, man.
It's not an easy one.
Not an easy one at all.
No, the guitar teacher was actually pretty surprised that I learned it in like 2 weeks. So I mean, worked hard, but I got it,
So, Tom, I'll get to you in a second. I want to ask from a producer's role what you think of this young man here. But from you, tell me, were you influenced that you had music around you, but as you started learning guitar, were there certain guitarists that you took to immediately, and talk about your inspirations?
Yeah, I have so many people that I look up to, and I've gotten to meet, a lot of my heroes, which is very cool. Some of my guitar heroes include Eric Clapton, of course Buddy Guy, my mentor, Mr. Buddy Guy, B.B. King, a lot of the older blues guys, Albert King, Freddie King, the Three Kings. Gary Clark Jr., one of them, one of the new guys coming out. I love John Mayer, Derek Trucks, a lot of those guys, Warren Haynes. So the list goes on and on.
Sure,
really.
sure. So when you meet these guys, and are you starstruck? Do you get used to it? I mean, what's the deal? Is it a new thing every time?
When you get to meet someone that you listen to every day and you look up to as musicians and as people, I think it's very huge moment for me to get to say hi to these people and get to know some of them. So I mean, it's been really cool.
Tom, I'm listening to Quinn talk here, and it seems like he's got his stuff together, right? I mean, listening to him talk to me right now, it's absolutely fantastic. So,
thank you.
From your point of view, why don't you tell me how long you've known Quinn for, and talk about how he's developed through those years?
Well, I met Quinn through Buddy Guy. I produced Buddy Guy's records, and Buddy said you got to hear this young kid. And at the time, you were how old again?
8 or 9.
8 years old.
Yeah. So I mean, as you can tell, just talking to him right now, you forget that he's 14. When you're talking about music.
Sure.
And but so when he was about eight, he came into the studio, and I was producing a record called Skin Deep for Buddy Guy, and I wrote a song specifically for after hearing him for Who's Gonna Fill Their Shoes, it was called. Basically about who's going to fill the shoes of these heroes that, when Buddy Guy and B.B. King are no longer around.
Yeah.
Who are the young guys coming up? We started hitting it off musically, and Buddy Guy actually said to me, if there's any way you could write an album, I write songs, and and produce, and if you could write songs around, an album that could build around Quinn, he could take them on the road, and maybe, we could try to get the record out, and so it was this whole process. And so in the past few years, that's what we've been doing, and we have a new album out called Getting There, and we have another album out called Cyclone, and they're both kind of blowing up, and he's blowing up, and people all over the world are starting to realize what Buddy saw originally is that he's he's fantastic. And
so Quinn, are you involved in the writing process at all from a lyrical perspective? I mean,
well, I co-wrote 3 of the new songs off of Getting There, but I definitely, for the third one, I really want to get more in depth with that, writing more with him, and because of course he's the perfect person to write with. Of course, I mean, written for so many people. So I mean, but I definitely want to get more into that as I keep going forward.
So how do you, from a 14-year-old young man, do the topics of song, have they changed through the years, or as you mature?
Of course. So,
like, what were some of the early ones that you remember writing? The topic and
I mean, the early ones, My Sweet Guitar, being one of them, was just about how much you love your guitar.
Yeah.
But off the new album, it's a little bit more in depth about the world, and I actually have a song called World in Change, which is about the world in change. I mean,
sure.
So a little more worldly topics, love topics. I mean, probably as I get older, probably will write even more into that. But I think it evolves every single album.
So from your perspective, and you know young kids, and the way that the information exchanges, and you've got social networking, okay, and you know you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, and you can just obtain that content so much easier these days. Is that something that you're mindful of, and do you sort of keep a cap on that at all, or is it how do you look at it from that perspective?
Are you talking about from the songwriting point of view?
No,
or
from him as an artist and a personality.
Oh, well, I think that's one of the reasons that he's kind of blowing up is because he is accessible and people can go online and see him, and they can see him on Ellen DeGeneres when he was a young kid, and then they
6 years old.
we did the Tonight Show with Jay Leno like a week ago, and. People were already going, man, he looks so tall now or grown up, and so he's changing daily. He started high school and he's growing, and so I think everyone's just following the whole story along, and the songwriting will evolve as well into more of the stuff he's talking about. At first we spoke about. We didn't speak about love so much, but maybe that's going to start.
Absolutely.
Some stuff about
so how do you? I mean, with all that around, you sound. I mean, what first and foremost, what I get is a really humble type of personality. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. I never get ahead of myself in any way. I just always want to stay humble and stuff like that.
Sure.
For sure.
So, Ellen DeGeneres, when you were a young kid, 8 years old, that what you said?
6 years old.
6
actually.
years old.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was like my first major TV, And
he's been on. He was on the Oprah show.
Yeah, that was after Ellen, and then you can finish it off.
We did Jimmy Fallon recently.
Jimmy Kimmel.
I mean, he's
Today Show.
Yeah.
The list goes on, right?
It really does. I mean, it's really cool that I've gotten to be on these shows. I'm only 14 and I've been on almost all of them, so it's a huge accomplishment.
My next guest is a 14-year-old blues guitar prodigy from Massachusetts. He's currently touring with his mentor, Buddy Guy, who was my mentor. I used to tour with Buddy when I was 19.
Wow.
He's 14, so that's kind of cool. This Wednesday, he'll be in Colorado at the Red Rocks Amphitheater, here to perform the title track of his new album, Getting There. Please welcome Quinn Sullivan.
Boston, in Portland, Maine, about Indiana, in the driving rain.
Quinn, it's been a pleasure sitting down and talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I look forward to seeing how this continues to evolve. And Tom, thanks for stopping by and hanging and chatting with us.
Yes,
Cool.
This is Chris Rattey reporting from the RadioBDC Boston.com 10 at Life is Good Festival. Mr. Quinn Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Check us later.